there, everyone. My name is Audrey. As of 3 days ago, I was formally diagnosed with endometriosis stage 2. And as of 3 days ago, I had received my excision surgery to where they had completely removed my endometriosis. Today's video is going to be focused on just sort of explaining how the surgery went, any tips, any suggestions that I recommend based on my experience, and also any current symptoms that I'm having post-op of my procedure and surgery. So we're just going to sort of explore those different symptoms that I'm going through, and maybe some ways that you can help to alleviate some of those yourself. So we're going to begin with day 1 of my surgery. So before we do that, I just want to give you a brief sort of summary of how I found out I had endo in the first place, what I did to get it addressed, and what doctor I ended up going with. So firstly, my endometriosis actually wasn't discovered until about 1.5 years after symptoms. Possibly it could have even gone before that as well. I just didn't know it. I was actually at work. I bent over to pick something up, and my lower back, like the entire lower bottom of my spine, froze. It was just like a very tight, very tense, like a shocking feeling in my lower back. It actually never went away until I got this surgery just a few days ago. That was my main symptom. And over time, that back pain, even though it was always there, it sort of fluctuated during the different periods of my menstrual cycle. So during ovulation, it would get really worse right before my period, and then also on my period. So that was sort of where I started with that. And then over time, as I didn't get it addressed, I had additional symptoms that just kept adding to that. So a lot of them were like bowel symptoms, digestive system symptoms. So I couldn't eat certain things. My stool, I found a lot of mucus-like substances, and my stomach and abdomen just hurt a lot. And so that only had gotten worse, unfortunately. So within that 1.5 years, I visited several emergency hospitals. I visited several specialists, several doctors, and I've even met with a surgeon as well before I stumbled upon Dr. Robert Furr. He is an endometriosis specialist. He was originally from Tennessee. He moved to Florida, and he has some really great reviews. So I decided to take a chance with him, and I'm super, super happy I did. I feel like I definitely made the right decision. So I met with Dr. Robert Furr about 1.5 to 2 months ago, just sort of going over my symptoms with him, letting him know that I'd explored different options and wasn't really connecting with the past doctor or two that I had met previously. Right away, one of the things I noticed about him is he actually let me talk, which is really nice and something I'm not used to. The last surgeon I'd met with just sort of interrupted me and didn't really let me get in a few words. And then most importantly, he kind of explained to me what endometriosis was, how does it actually work aside from, misconceptions. And he was pretty influenced that I likely had endometriosis. So right away, just within our first consultation, we went ahead and scheduled an excision surgery. So I had to wait a couple weeks for that call, but as soon as I did, I got it scheduled ASAP. And so that led me to where I am today, finally having my diagnosis and finally having some closure as to why I've been having all of these symptoms and all of these pains for the last 1.5 years. So to get started off, we're just going to go right into day 1, surgery, and what really happened that day. So the day of surgery, I went to the Tampa General Hospital. 4 different women that were in the waiting room with me. It's in like its own women's health pavilion. It's just sort of a sector that's different from the actual hospital. And so I sat there for a while, did some paperwork, and then finally they called a few different names. So we all got in the elevator, went up to the 2nd floor. And aside from like other hospitals, I'm kind of used to having my own private room. These were sort of one big room just separated by curtains. And to my knowledge, all these women were being seen for different services, but ultimately we were all going to be leaving the same day. So something that's really important about my experience is I was under the impression that if I needed to, stay longer or stay the night, that would be a possibility. The typical procedure with this method, and this excision surgery that he was doing, which is the Da Vinci method, it was supposed to be you get it done and then you leave the same day. So after that, they kind of assigned us to our own nurses, took some blood, took some urine samples, hooked up the IV, sort of explained to me, here's what's going to happen. You're going to meet a few different doctors that are going to be helping you out today. After that, you're going to come right back into this room, and then we're basically going to take care of you and make sure you're good to go until you're good to go. And so I was able to meet with the anesthesiologist, the doctor's assistant, and a few other people. And of course, I got to meet Dr. Robert Furr. And the actual process was pretty comfortable. They made sure that, I had everything I needed, that if I had any concerns, they were addressed right up front. Something I will highly recommend is making sure that if you have any questions, get them answered up front and write them down, because there's a lot of things that are going on and you're more likely to forget any questions that you have. So I kept some handy that were written down, and also medical history. So if you have any notes about medical history or things that maybe can be seen as a red flag to them, let them know the same day, let them know before surgery. Just a quick example, I have a really bad red and blotchy chest whenever I get nervous. So that was something that I mentioned to them, because they could have mistaken that as some sort of allergic reaction to something that they were giving me. So I'm really glad that I did mention that, because it seemed to be a concern of the doctors. And so after that, they did give me some calming medicine. I let them know that, I had a lot of nerves, anxiety. And so because of that, they gave me this margarita medicine that they called it. And it definitely knocked me out. I don't remember terribly too much after that, besides being rolled into the room and then moved onto a different table. And then they gave me some anesthesia and I was out like a light. I feel like it only lasted a minute. Something I will say is once they were completely finished with the procedure, it was definitely some of the worst pain I've ever experienced in my entire life. When I woke up, I had a lot of pain in my stomach. I didn't have anyone in the room with me because my boyfriend was supposed to wait downstairs, so it was just me. Didn't have my glasses on, so I was even more dizzy. But that stomach pain is an entirely different level of pain I've ever experienced. The best way I can explain it is just as what they did. It just kind of feels like your insides are just cut into. And then also, if you're really, really, really hungry and you don't eat for several hours, that really bad cramping you get, it was kind of a mixture of the two. So be really prepared to be able to handle or manage that stomach pain, because it does get to be a lot, especially after you finally figure out that you've gotten that diagnosed for your endo after you've been waiting for years or more. So it was definitely a lot to take in all at once. And then I was very dehydrated, and I still am. Just making sure that right when you wake up, you're not overdoing it, but you're giving yourself enough fluids. If you are hungry, make sure you do eat something little by little. Your body does need the energy to be able to recover from something so traumatic. And then with my doctor specifically, he had given me an entire USB video of our surgery. So I got to see everything, which was really surreal. And I really appreciate that he did that. And additionally, he left pictures of the endometriosis that were actually laminated right next to my table. So right when I woke up, I immediately got to see the actual endometriosis. And I wasn't able to meet with him. I assume he had different surgeries right after, but it was something that I needed to sort of make me believe that I had endometriosis, because as we all probably know, we've been so gaslit and believed into that we don't have it, that we have to see it or hear it from the doctor in order to finally believe it. So that was nice to have that up front. And then for the rest of the day while I was getting surgery, I had the nurses that would check in pretty frequently. I did feel like personally they were a little rushy with me. I feel like at one point she had told me like, I have other people that we also need to see, so I do need this bed. And I felt like that was just a little rude in my opinion, but I was only up there for like an hour to 2 hours recovering. And I feel like with it being like my first procedure and pretty traumatic, definitely was a little insensitive that she said that, but I kind of just brushed it off. I was still on the meds too, so I was like, not a huge deal, but just something I do want to throw out there. Be prepared to like be asked, like not to leave, but are you ready to go? Like, what's the plan? Like, and sometimes you won't have that plan or you won't know what to do, and that's okay because you're on every single, drug that there is and you're still recovering. So it's like hard for you to be able to get to that point to be like, I'm ready or I'm good to go. Because honestly, like, I don't think I was ever ready to go that day. But shortly after that, I had another nurse that came in and started helping me. She was amazing. Right away, when I got off the bed to go to the bathroom, you're going to have a very hard time walking. I actually would not have been able to walk by myself. The best way to explain it is like, my legs are moving, but like my entire abdomen and stomach area don't have the strength to lift me out of the chair or to bend me certain ways. So I needed help getting out of the chair, walking to the bathroom, even sitting on the toilet was a challenge because it did require some of those abdomen muscles. And so just be very, very careful when you're walking. Walk slow, make sure you have like sturdy shoes. And then one of the best pieces of advice I got from actually the nurse there was to make sure that you're breathing. Now, something I wasn't expecting after the surgery was to have sort of like a restricted area to breathe in. I know it sounds kind of silly, like, yeah, your stomach, your ovaries, all of that area is like gonna get worked on. It's gonna be sensitive to breathe because your lungs are, inhaling and exhaling. But honestly, I didn't really think about it until it happened. And so I almost felt like I didn't have enough air to breathe. It's not that I wasn't able to breathe. It was just I wasn't able to like fully inhale and exhale. So whenever you're uncomfortable, your body automatically like works with what it has. Like, you don't want to push your limits when you're in pain. So definitely making sure that you're taking in those deep breaths in and the deep breaths out, that you're fully, you're going slow and you're fully using your air to the best of your ability. And when I started doing that, instead of taking those little breaths in, walking became easier, eating became easier, drinking became easier, and of course, breathing became a lot easier. And then additionally, you're going to have a lot of nausea. So breathing really helps when it comes to that. Making sure that you have a sort of like a motion sickness patch or any type of like peppermint essential oils. Something that she gave me, my nurse, was like the alcohol wipes, and she's like, just sniff it when you get nauseous. That really, really helped. It was almost like the feeling of when you're about to get sick, but you're not like going to get sick. So that was something else that was kind of a big thing for me on day 1 of surgery. And then something like when you're at the hospital, I would recommend to ask to take with you is they have the little like vomit bags that they're like a circle and they have like a little tent underneath. Take a couple of those just because like your body's going through so many changes and you don't want to like accidentally throw up, especially on the way home. So that is something that I took as well. Overall, we were there from about 5:30 and we got home at about like 2:30, maybe even 3. And we had about an hour of a drive to and from the hospital. So it was a long car ride. Make sure that you're comfortable. Make sure you've got your pillows, your blankets, your snacks, your water, anything that you find that you're comfortable with after a surgery like that. So that was my experience on day 1. I'm going to link in some more videos from the rest of my days, sort of explaining to you how I'm feeling, the healing process of my stomach, anything else I've kind of observed Today, like I've mentioned, is day 3, so I'm in a lot better shape than I was day 1. But my stomach, I feel like, has been getting, like the recovery of my stomach physically has been getting a little worse since day 1. I'll stand up in just a couple of moments and show you my belly, but day 1, my stomach was pretty hard, kind of flatter, had a lot of bruising. Now I feel like I'm super kind of like swollen. I'm a little more bloated. My stomach's, the bruising's getting like kind of weird and discolored. My belly button's wet and whatnot. And so I did double check with my doctor. He said that it seems pretty normal right now, but if I have any concerns to let him know. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how long this takes me to heal. Hopefully not too long. And I will see you every other day. But before I show you every other day, let me go ahead and show you my stomach on day 3. Here's my stomach. You can see it. As you see, super swollen right here. We've got some discoloring near this area and down here as well. And then my belly button, as you can see, does have some, it looks like some scabbing, and it has gotten a lot better than I looked this morning, so that's good. Here's kind of a side view of it, very, very bloated. So yeah, it's gonna take some time, but you know, it's better than what it was before when I had all those bad symptoms. So I will let you guys kind of see what the other days were like for me, and I will catch you guys a little later, but I appreciate you for watching. This is my stomach. Yeah, looking rough, looking swollen, looking fat, which is expected. So basically everything I explained earlier, you can kind of see, just to give you an idea of how bloated I am, very bloated. You're not going to notice a difference probably for a hot minute because you're still recovering. So everything's swollen. Down here specifically, it's a little bumpy and swollen. I've got some wetness going on my belly button. I'm not touching that. I wouldn't even go close to it. I wouldn't put a cover over it. I would just leave it how the doctors left it. And then I've got some bruising and whatnot. But overall, like I would say that my stomach's in pretty decent condition for how much that they've found. Time to sit back down. Hello everyone, it is day 2. I feel like things have gotten better since yesterday. I did wake up with a little more pain in my shoulder and in my neck. I believe it's from the gas. It actually kind of feels like a Charlie horse is the best way I can explain it. Like that feeling that you kind of get in your ankle, except it's in my neck and my shoulder and it hurts so bad. When it comes to pain with my stomach, I'd say it's about the same as yesterday. I have worked up an appetite to eat today. Yesterday I only ate like 2 graham crackers. Today I've been eating eggs, avocado, more graham crackers, and I had a little bit of meatloaf for lunch, so that's been great. And I've also been keeping myself really hydrated. I still haven't made any type of bowel movement, and I've been okay like peeing and everything, but I'm just obviously waiting to go number 2 because I still haven't gone, and I feel like I need to go. The only complaint I have is whenever I'm eating and I feel like my stomach is getting full, it does seem to kind of hurt and irritate my stomach a little bit just because it's still healing and whatnot and putting pressure on different body parts. So that's sort of the thing that's gotten a little bit worse, but overall I feel a lot better. My sleeping schedule's still off. I was able to shower today, got my hair soapy and everything, but didn't really wash my stomach with soap just because they advised me not to. Overall, I would say I'm healing pretty quickly, and I'm able to fully walk by myself. I'll say the medications are the things that are hitting me the hardest right now. I took off the patch that they put behind my ear after my shower, and everything just seems kind of dizzy, spinny. I'm very sleepy, even though I've been sleeping like a lot of time during the day. But overall, I would say it's definitely better than yesterday, and I feel like I made a great decision. So